Within this lecture, we're going to go over how to actually set up Bootstrap on your website. So again, there's a number of different ways to access Bootstrap. So you can use the getbootstrap.com and download Bootstrap. And what this does is this downloads the CSS, JavaScript, and fonts. So what I've done is I've actually downloaded it, unzipped it, and just to show you guys what it's downloading, so you've got your Bootstrap minified, and then you've got your Bootstrap theme. Then you've got all of the Bootstrap fonts, and you've got your Bootstrap JS and your minified Bootstrap JS. So it doesn't actually come with an index file. There's no docs, there's no original source files. You don't have the ability for Sass and so on. So if you do want those, if you want the source code for Bootstrap, you download the entire source. So this will obviously give you more files that you're downloading. So this is just the light version. This is all that you need: CSS, fonts, JS, and then all you have to do within index page or any page that you want to access Bootstrap, you just link to these libraries. You can also download Sass. And also with Bootstrap, we've got the ability to go to their GitHub repo, and there's a number of different ways that you can clone it. You can just clone the repo itself. There's multiple ways of accessing it through coding. And then here it gives you that file structure. So this is that default files that I've actually set up into the system, into my application. And then all you have to do is go over to here, and so I'm going to just refresh this page when I go out to localhost. And I'm going to go back out and just remove out all of that content that's there. So when we go to index, there shouldn't be any content there other than the hello world. So I'm going to just go over to Bootstrap, and when I refresh it, there's nothing there. So I've downloaded it. I've downloaded the basic file structure, the CSS and the JavaScript, and now what I'm going to do is I'm just going to copy and paste this right in. Save that page, go back out and refresh it, and now we've got Bootstrap set up. So I know it doesn't look a lot different, but it is using Bootstrap now, and if I go back into the code, so I'm just going to add a typical Bootstrap button, and we're going to get into this later on as well. So there's Bootstrap button classes. And button. So with Bootstrap, this should actually show up as a button. And when I refresh it, so we do see that Bootstrap is enabled on this page. And within the later lessons as well, we're going to get into more of the coding, syntax, and how to use Bootstrap. So besides downloading it, you can also use the CDNs. So there are various sources for CDNs, but the main source for Bootstrap CDN is bootstrapcdn.com. And here, if you go to the main page, you've got your complete CSS, complete JavaScript. So you can just grab whatever version it is that you need. So if you want to grab that HTML version. And if you don't actually have or use any of the JavaScript components, you don't actually even need to include this JavaScript component. So you don't have to link to the JavaScript library. But here within this default structure, we do link out to JavaScript. And this JavaScript is jQuery. So always remember that you do need to include jQuery library because it's necessary for the JavaScript plugins to work. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to simply replace, maybe I can just comment this out. So instead of actually deleting it, and I'm going to put in this CDN. And what CDNs are, if you're not familiar with a CDN, it's just an online library, and it can actually load your pages quicker, because if a lot more users of your website are going to other websites that are using the same CDN, chances are that their browser is caching that, and it's going to save on that load time of the files into your web page. So it is optional. Again, you could download Bootstrap and set it up on your own website, or you could link to the CDN. Either way, you're going to get that same library. But if you do download it, you get some more control on what you have available to you. So you can actually go into that Bootstrap style sheet, and you can look through it, and you can adjust colors and make updates to it if you need to. So there's also the minified version. So those of you that aren't familiar with the minified version, so this is with all of the white space removed. So it does load faster, the minified versions. So if you're not going to be updating your CSS, if you're not going to be looking through that CSS file, it is advisable that you use the minified version instead of just the CSS version. And that's why also the CDNs are minified versions, because you're not going to have access to actually update them and read the files. And then this is all you really need to do to get Bootstrap on a web page. And as long as you're linking out to those files, now you can begin to use those templates that we had looked at before and update your Bootstrap page, update the HTML within the page, and then work within the page structure to add in classes and really customize that Bootstrap and get the effects that you want using Bootstrap.